and we're going to venture into somewhere we haven't really ventured that much into in a while. Let's welcome the one, the only, Mr. The Beast, Rich the Beast Ortiz. Rich, how you doing? Welcome to Totally Driven Radio.
What's going on, Phil? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming aboard, man. So, being a former football player, we've got to ask you right out of the gate, who do you like, Denver or Seattle?
Well, I worked for John Elway. I played for him, and I lived up there in Colorado in the Arena Football League at one point in my career. And, was warming up with him on the sidelines. My favoritism goes to the Broncos, but if we want to break it down from a factual standpoint, we're looking at Peyton Manning, a guy who's writing history, who's going to be a Hall of Famer someday. And but if you look at it, overall percentages on wins in Super Bowls, games overall, defense wins championships. So let's just take Peyton out of the equation and let's just look at it, who's got the better defense. And, I think Denver has an edge with the defense there. And, plus I don't know if Seattle's going to be able to put points on the board and make the crucial right decision at the right time like the Mannings are bred to. So, Denver.
Wow, we got two Denvers. Yeah, I want to say Denver, and mainly because of the whole Peyton Manning factor, but something about Seattle just scares me. And throughout the season, early in the season, I was like, all right, they're a good team, And then towards the end of the season, I just kept saying to myself, this team is no joke. They are for real. It killed me to admit it about Seattle because of that whole thing last year when they had that, when they had the scab refs. And they had that,
sure.
I think it was, that whole play where they won the game, and they were just so cocky about it, and it just rubbed me the wrong way about that team ever since. But I got to give them credit; they're a damn good freaking team.
Yes, sir. They wouldn't be there if they weren't. I mean, all those teams in the playoffs are, they always got anyone can go, and it comes down to a lot of final plays, and it's really not beating yourself first, eliminating mistakes is really the first thing. Whoever has the least amount of mistakes wins the turnover game is going to win the ball game. Yeah,
that's what it's going to come down to.
I mean, that's just my guess, but you heard it here. That's just my guess. Plus, they simulated the new Madden 2014. Every year they simulate the Super Bowl, and they had the Broncos in overtime with a field goal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Interesting.
That's funny. Now, you played football at all levels. I mean, going from college to NFL, you played in Canada, XFL, Arena Football League. Which was your most enjoyable as a football player?
Well, man, that's hard to put it on one because I've always been a person that just really has gone after, what I get full enjoyment out of in life. What really, I think that's very important in life. Do what you enjoy. I think it makes for a happier house when you're having fun what you're doing. But, to pick just one league, of course you say the NFL because it's the highest level, and you're looking around the locker room having an aha surreal moment, just like, with professional wrestling. But, warming up playing catch with Elway in the sideline before the games as a fullback linebacker in the Arena Football League with him. And he's going, hey, man, go down there, let me throw some balls back and forth and just shooting, stuff around. That's cool. That's really cool. I cherish that kind of stuff. But in the XFL, though, now I'm in my glory. It's the best of both worlds, both of my dreams when I was a child. And I was really disappointed I didn't go through. But, we were just starting to have a little bit of fun with that stuff, speaking on stage at the Epcot Center and whatnot down in Orlando about, that had to be about 8 years ago.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, with the Arena Football League, it doesn't get a lot of press or credit. I've been to a lot of games here in Philly for the Philly Soul, and it's always such a fun, fast-paced, exciting game. And I just wish they would, become bigger.
Sure, yeah. remember playing against Philly when John Bon Jovi ran the team over there in those arenas, and guys were making six figures for 16 weeks, and like you said, the guy have been there, a high-scoring game, different kind of game, a lot of hitting that wall, has never lost a battle, and it's something different though. Professional wrestling, it's good to have different venues that are doing different styles of that type of trade. So it's
right.
Workers, and it's also good for the people.
Now, a lot of former football players go into the world of wrestling. So yourself included, and you said a few minutes ago that it was one of your dreams as a kid. So I guess you were a big wrestling fan growing up.
Sure, it was a big part of my great-grandmother, my grandfather watching, and, it was cool because his dying days were watching wrestling and got to see me on television. And when I was a kid, my dad, I remember him playing professional wrestling in the living room and going, check these guys out. And he's marking out over there, big old jock. And he was, he got asked by the Macho Man's brother, Lenny Poffel down in Arizona back in the day when WWE was running through there, but he just had a family, and I heard that story as a kid too. I was 10 years old. I said, I want to do this. What is this? All this stuff, and I hear these stories later. It's all kind of tied together, but yeah, good memories. Joking around with the pops, and just act like characters, and roughhousing each other up. I mean,
that's awesome.
I was 10 years old. I said, hey, man, I want to do this in pro football and play football, too, when I get older. He says, oh, my son's a dreamer, pat me on the head, like, all right, kid.
Now, let me ask you this, because I was a worker, too. I worked for the original ECW. I was one of the Dudley Boys, the original Dudley Boys.
Oh, dude. Hey, now tell me about the nostalgia there. I mean, I've watched every single year. I mean, the matches, different style getting over in Philly. I mean, tell me about your experience over there. I mean, is it different than anywhere else in the world?
Dude, that ECW arena in 95 and 96 when I was there, there was nothing like it. There truly was nothing like it. Especially the Dudleys at the time when we first started out, we were, just like the sideshow circus. And we really weren't doing much. And then when Devon came in, they really started to pit Bubba against Devon and the whole thing, and they were letting us really break out and become more hardcore and stuff like that, and we started really getting over the crowd. Forget it. I mean, going through that crowd and having them as your backup, it was just an incredible feeling,
Yeah, man. It's so electrifying. It's beyond. I think it's because of that passion and that commitment are going head on with the worker and the fan. It's like, and also like you're saying, here's this open springboard. Here's this another, venue where we've got a different product, and and it's people really appreciate it. It becomes real. They say it's phony, but not down there at in the extreme on the 2300 Richter and Swanson Arena down there, man. It's
it's funny too because I was there. It was last year. They there was a documentary put out, Barbed Wire City, and I went down for the premiere, and I took my wife and my daughters down there with me. So we got to watch it, and after it was over, they're redoing the building down there, and they had like the old dressing room area was all just like tarped off, and I walked back there just to walk around, and a lot of the spray paint from back in the 90s on the wall, spray paint ECW and stuff was all still back there, and it literally brought tears to my eyes. It was just very emotional, and just really remembering all the memories of that building. I mean, it was just truly a magical building that was just unbelievable.
Yeah, it's an honor and it's such a privilege. I think you did a good job explaining, and that's the kind of sweat and blood that's in that arena, and that's what's pulsating in there on the edge of a revolution, always in that place. And that's why it's such an honor and privilege to be wrestling there, and it makes you want to just keep elevating your game every single time you go out. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, huh?
You know, I used to say, like, about that building back in the day, kind of like, you know, the old Frank Sinatra song, New York, New York. I would say if you can make it there in that building, meaning is if you can get over with the fans in that building, you can get over anywhere. So if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, it's a different breed of crowd in that Philly area, and you know, you got a lot of you know, blue collar, you know, working class. That's tough. They you know, they tell it like it is, and they ain't afraid to. They go shoot some pool and bust some beer bottles over your head.
Yep. Yeah.
Just for a good time,
like
you know what I mean?
Just a typical Saturday night at the bingo parlor.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you said, you know, it's like, hey, make me laugh. You know what I mean? Do something. You know, I mean, that crowd is, yeah. I mean, you got to come with it.
This is true. Now, you were saying, like, I guess, like, when you were younger, your grandfather or whatever got you into wrestling, got you interested in it?
No, I mean, you know, I didn't find out about that till later on, and the whole thing about my great-grandmother and him, that was like, it was kind of escapism at that time, you know, rough times and stuff, and, but, you know, I remember being around like 10 years old and you know, watching TV in the other room, you know, 'cause Mom's watching something in the other room, and just acting a fool, man, and just going, man, you know, what is this? Like, what are these guys? You know, they were like larger than life. You know, that was, you know, the 80s and
right.
And 90s, you know, and it was like, man, what are these? What planet are these guys from? What is this? These are character athletes, ass kickers. Like, whoa, like this, you know, this is awesome. And I was like, man, you know, I'm thinking to myself, man, you know, I would love to do that. You know, that's what these guys do. This is their superheroes for a living. Is this, you know, obviously you don't know the other side of the business, but you know, it's you know, that was my fondest memory. Right? Yeah. How about that? Hello.
You know,
like a
I'll
bad
tell you
rash that won't go away, right?
When I left the business, I said I'm one of the smartest people in the business because I got out.
Come on. Hey, it's like that bad girlfriend that does you bad, you know. But that love is so good when it's good, but when it's bad, it is bad.
It is bad. This is true.
And
that's funny.
Hey, and you know, it's you can't fall in love with them kind. You can't make a whole housewife kind. You know what I mean? You're trying to make a housewife out of her.
Not wrestling. You can't make wrestling a housewife.
No way, man.
Now, you trained down in Ohio Valley?
Yeah, that's where I started. As soon as I got done with ball, I was chomping the bit actually like 4 years prior when I was in the CFL. And you know, plus I'm watching The Rock blow up, and I'm playing the CFL. I was just hearing he'd been cut like 3 years before, and it was about maybe 3 years. And I was thinking, man. And then I ended up getting a roommate that was Mike Lawson was roommates with The Rock down there at the U, and he's like, man, my boy, I'm hearing all this stuff, and we're watching him go, man, this guy's, man, you know, and I'm going, wait a second, man, I kind of got caught up in this whole football dream kind of thing, you know, man, I got to get onto this wrestling dream. And then I bumped shoulders with Stu Hart. I got a shoot interview with him, acting a fool, you know, not knowing anything about the business, and you know, going down to Stampede Wrestling and checking some shows out. And then there's another guy who used to act like a wrestler back in the locker room, and that's when I had a character Atlas the Bone, and you know, it was just like a locker room character, and we just talk noise, you know, the brothers, and I go into my wrestling character and put it in place, you know. It was good laughs, good times, man, good memories.
That's funny. So who were your actual trainers then down in Ohio Valley?
Rip Rogers was my first one, and
okay,
then yes, sir, the Hustler, which is that classic old school style, and then Al Snow became my second trainer from there. And then Hoot Gibson, Robert Gibson, who I still talk to. I actually talked to him about the show, the last show. And, you know, I mean, come on, he's an 8-time world champion, Rock and Roll Express.
Absolutely.
So, you know, he spent a lot of time with me, and those are the first guys starting out. Then I went up to Pritchard, Dr. Tom, then, you know, Ricky Steamboat started coming in, Anderson, D. Malenko, all those guys started coming in. And then after I got released from the WWE, I moving in with Razor Ramon, a.k.a. Scott Hall.
Okay.
And I lived there for about a year, and we got on the road together, did a little show together, and he was just teaching me a whole nother side to the business and a whole nother side to working, talking about, you know, Hulk Hogan's psychology and different, and what he was doing, you know, and what he, you know, what you know, just comparing different levels, different ways of psychology and working. And Shawn Michaels, he was talking about, you know, the stories and the psychology when they're on the road. And, I mean, I was just taking it all in, and we got some Dick Murdoch. I got every single match Dick Murdoch, his career from beginning to end. And, you know, Scott was tagging with Murdoch at one time, and just listening to those stories and watching those matches over and over and over, and then watching big Hollywood stuff, you know, like Elvis, and, you know, where is he on the stage? What's he doing this? Why do people, you know, and looking at movies, and then he's showing me the music. Mr. Perfect would show him when they're on the road, Henning when they're on the road, and the songs. He'd say, hey, listen to this. This is the business right here, and you know, and just. Yeah, man, it was a dream come true, because that's how I wanted to do that prior to going to WWE. But when I got there, you know, they shot me straight up, and I'm going, man, hey, I know I've been involved with football for 22 years, you know, and I know how much time you got to put in your craft before you get to the top, and you have something worthy. But you know, that's my story. That's just how it was to be. But it's interesting now. You know, I'm watching all these ECW matches, and here I am in that arena now. I'm sitting there talking with these guys, like you said, man. It's emotional, and it means something, man, to be there. I mean, and it's like, man, this is why I got into with this kind of fulfillment right here with the people, with yourself. Yeah, it's about the money too. Don't get me wrong, because you know we live in a monetary system. You know, a nice guy doesn't pay your hospital bill, so. But you know, that's what you really get in for, and for those to be groomed by those guys like Scott Hall and have those races where you're on the road, and after the match you're talking about it and learning right there, and learning you know the differences how these guys are tying up these big Hollywood ties versus you know these other guys that are working these other styles. It's just, you know, and then, you know, in this day and age, I feel like you really got to do the territory where you can go. Move on, get grooming where you can with a mentorship with one of these old dinosaurs they call it, the dying breed, you know, and just travel around. Like that's what Bubba, he although at TNA's his little training facility for about I'd say almost a year, and that's what he says, man, just travel around, do all this. And then I got involved with jiu-jitsu, you know, kind of just transferring some of emotions when I was a little bit more immature as a young man, and just really got into jiu-jitsu, and I've lost one match in 5 years. I'm an international champion, purple belt, and
wow.
And a 2-state champion, submission heavyweight grappling champion, you know. And it was all because someone told me I'd never be a technical wrestler. Now here I am, international level, getting ready for Worlds, and I'm wrestling at ECW, and man, and you know, I've had the tutelage and all these dreams that come true. Just it was inside out, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You know, and you said a lot that is really important, especially for people who are just getting into the wrestling business, that they really need to like realize, like, you don't just sit and watch Raw and think you're going to become a wrestler. I mean, not only do you have to train in the ring, in the gym, it's also a lot of psychology, and you literally are going to class. Like you're saying, you would watch tapes and this and that. I mean, I remember being in school, and my teachers would be like, watch these matches, watch this worker, and just take notes. And then I would literally sit there with a notebook and take notes and write down spots and then go back to class and work on spots and work and figure out how this worked and that worked. And once you're doing all that, it's one thing. But then to put all that in front of a crowd and learn how to work the crowd on top of it, it's a whole other thing. I mean, it's a nonstop learning.
Why they're chanting, "You suck dick,"
right,
in the ECW arena.
Yeah, exactly.
F you, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, brother, it's a lot, you know, and but that was a good thing too about the release for me is 'cause I got to go hone my craft, how I, bring back that old realism where those old shooters and hookers, that stuff was real. Those were real tough guys in there, but don't get me wrong, that you look at that old wrestling style doesn't really. It's not top cards like, like Razor would say, there's a different style you work, Hogan would say the same thing, and Shawn Michaels, from the stories I've been heard. So it's, but in this day and age, there's a lot smarter crowd, a lot smarter. And, some of those moves that don't translate very well, transitioning, they just don't because of MMA. And I know it's a different product and all that stuff, but I'm just talking about, sometimes when you watch something, you go, why is that kind of looking corny? Why isn't that translating, like, in a more of a real sense? And then the guys that are doing that, they're called some of the best wrestlers in the world, like a Daniel Bryan, where you're mixing in both.
Yeah.
What's your take on that Daniel Bryan thing going on? Do you think that's a work, or do you think it's for real?
The CM Punk thing?
No, I'm saying weren't they saying a bunch of fans talking about Daniel Bryan's not going to be in WrestleMania or something?
They supposedly the other night after the Royal Rumble, he was tweeting out stuff about WWE was holding him back.
Yeah, do you think that's what I'm saying? Do you think that's a work? Do you think that's his gimmick now? Do you think that's become his gimmick now? At first, kind of no, but it's kind of turned into his gimmick. Just because how the biz is, you think everything's a work. Everything is a work.
Right. Exactly.
So,
you know what? At first, I instantly thought it was a work because I don't see them being that vocal like that on social media. Being a disgruntled employee like that, and especially Vince not being furious.
Right. I can see if you had $6 million in the bank account, CM Punk, but not when you're trying to get in where you fit in, like Too Short would say on the West Coast.
Yeah. And the whole CM Punk thing, I most definitely think is a work. And I think if it's done right, like they did this thing with him a couple years ago, and it's like it was going great, and then they just killed it. So I think. Yeah,
I was like, man, they got some magic on top. Finally, got some magic. You know what I mean?
Right. So
yeah,
I really
that's super magic.
Right. They really need to. If this is truly a work, go with it. Don't be scared to go with it, and go with it and see what you can do with it.
Amen, man.
Now, you just mentioned about wrestling crowds are really smart today. For you yourself, do you prefer to work in front of the smart marks, or would you rather work in a crowd that's more that WWE child-based crowd?
Either. I prefer to work in that Philly crowd, bro. I prefer to be in the trenches, man, where my boots are going to get dirty and I'm going to get a little bit bloody, and we're going to see what you're really made of, But I mean, come on, brother. I mean, you think any of those guys want to come over and battle for the top? I'm going to work my way up that ladder, God willing, if I'm still alive. But, and earn myself a title shot and earn myself, every inch down there. And then you think any of those guys from WWE are going to want to come down and challenge title for title? You think they're going to want to? Come on, brother. You know how they get down in Philly down there.
Yeah, and you know what too? Like when I look at the WWE roster, I mean, first off, and I've said this many times, I really don't even watch wrestling anymore, just because being from where I've gone from the worker standpoint, I've promoted shows. I ran an organization for 7-8 years, and when I watch it, I get nuts because then I start picking out like, why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense. Why aren't you doing this? It should be done like this. And I just go bananas. And then I start wanting to like promote shows and do this, and my wife just wants to like strangle me. So I don't even watch it to put that drug back into my system. But
sure.
You know what I mean? So
it looks like they're moving in a direction with the internet more and more, and that's where everything's going to, and how they're switching over with their programming, and I mean, you know how powerful that is, and how much money that equates when you have a large following on the internet. That's
absolutely.
That's the big lever. So, it's hard because of traditional values, and then you have the you have the evolution. It just has to occur. You can say the same thing to football. Traditionalist goes, "Oh, what the hell kind of game is this? Spread out. You can't hit the correct way. Hitting in the head. Are you kidding me? That's how I earn my living. What is this targeting? Come on, and pretty soon they're going to have flags on themselves."
Right.
So I mean, you can say that and get all disgusted and all the penalties they throw, and it's and I mean you can go on a million things with that. But we're talking about you got to keep it the same. I was talking to my 2 black belt judo guys from Russia, and they were saying the same thing. They're kind of disgusted about judo because you can't do this and that. It's more geared towards big upper body throws. You can't grab the legs now. And so, but at the same breath, though, we came to the conclusion stuff's got to evolve, but just keep at least 80% of the traditional in there because I mean it works. It works. Look at these 2nd and 3rd and 4th generation wrestling families, and that's what you have there.
Yeah,
so
and that's
I hate to see that get lost too, brother. It can be, but it's going in a direction that may be ahead of our what we're seeing, and obviously he's got the $1 billion in the bank.
And that was kind of where I was going. Where like when I look at the roster now, like most of the guys, like I don't know who they are, and then the other half of the roster, it's all 2nd and 3rd generation guys. Where it's all the sons now or the daughters, and I think to myself, did they ever really have to like truly pay their dues? You know what I mean?
Sure,
did they have
they're
to go...
in it for life, brother. They're in it for life. What do you mean, dude? Does that mean something? If your dad he worked for me his entire life. He worked for me and helped me make money, help feed my family, and I helped him feed his family. And he has a kid, and he knocks on my door one day, and he goes, "Yo, do you think you could give my kid a chance?" Well, let me see here. You worked for me for 30, 40 years. You were never sick. You worked with a broken back, legs, arms. I think I could give him a chance.
Right.
I mean, I think that's all that's happening, and you got to earn it. You got to put it in, but you're not going to learn that family psychology, and they're not going to let you go there unless they feel they have already done that. So, I mean, I'm going to offer that to your pops. You know what I mean? To you. You know what I mean? Because of your pops. I don't even need to know you. I just know your pops, and he worked for me, so I know what kind of guy he is.
Right.
Plus, that's good business, and you're keeping a good foot of the psychology in there too. Because you see, we're fighting against. I mean, look on the indies. You look at the mad race minus the psychology going on. I mean, and it's anyone can open up a promotion and and run a show, but doesn't mean there's good psychology in these places.
Oh, right. Oh, that's so true. That is so true.
I think it's good that they even if they do I don't know. And then you can look at the guy who's gifted, like Batista, and you could bitch about that and say, hey, wait a second, he's just going to come in and take a big money spot. But then you can look on the flip side as a businessman and go, but wait a second, he's got higher ratings than all you guys. Isn't this what the game's about? But, and what, you're telling me you guys are all working together as a team now? we're all working together as a team. Like John Elway would have the team, and Peyton Manning would be running. You mean we're running it like that now? See, I've been groomed with world championship teams, and the mentality of John Elway. But I had to come to the business, and it's a different business, and it's a different mentality. And so, I think that's a factor in there. Would you agree or disagree?
I would totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's frustrating too. Like you were saying, with a lot of people, can just start running wrestling shows. There's no psychology, there's no this, and they don't know the true the true background, the true history, the true heart of wrestling, and they don't know the teamwork, and they're out for themselves to put themselves over, and it just makes a bad name all around on the indie scene where you don't have, that unity. Kind of, you look at what ECW was.
Well, that's the ECW locker room you're talking about, which is different than any other locker room in the world. Do you mean that, brother?
Yeah. See, and that's what I got used to.
That's special, man. I mean, how nice is that, man? That's what I'm saying. There's so many intangibles, and that's why you were asking me before why I picked there. There's another reason.
Yeah,
I play a character when I go in there that's just, brash, uppity, classy, bringing in a college degree, chisel, all that stuff. But I'm really, the common man. I work with my hands. I got a simple life. I appreciate these little things, and just like what you do and what you're talking about, just like those Philly people, But I just happen to play the bad guy when I come to town. I would have to bring some Lysol with me and disinfect that place, every piece of trash in there. I got that dirty job of having to clean that city up. It's going to take forever, brother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on now. Well, all right. So now you're in Extreme Rising, and you debuted at their last show at the arena, right?
Sure.
And then you're the next show. It's February 8th out in Pittsburgh. You're working against Luke Hawk, which he's been he's like the new hot name on the scene. So it should be a great match.
What's your take on him? And I've studied tape. I just because I was hearing the same thing, and the guy is highly respected, and he's beaten a lot of champions that come out of that Extreme arena down there, 2300. I mean, he's beaten Matt Hardy, who, is an icon superstar, well, arguably. I mean, you've got Steve Richards, who's the champion over there right now. Jerry Lynn, who's another respected name.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of notches on his belt, to say the least. And I guess he's been on the indie scenes for about, 13 years, 12 years, something?
Oh, really? Has it been that long? See, I haven't really known much about him until this past year and a half with Extreme Rising. And that's exactly what I keep hearing, is a lot of respect about him. And I haven't seen any of the matches. Like I said, I haven't really been watching wrestling. But, I mean,
well, you think you might tune in? Me and this dude are going to go toe-to-toe, brother. And it's that, doesn't it take a special partner, too, though, to be able to put those matches on there over at Extreme Right? Yes. It's not for everybody, is it? And not everybody can bring the best out of them. Not everyone wants to go that level all the time. But when you got another guy who does, that's mad, and that's what that place is about. And that's what Luke Hawks is quoting that he's all about, and so, and let's do this damn thing already.
All I'm saying, though, is that Luke is, he can take an ass whooping, too, as much as he can give one. That's all I'm saying. His stuff in, XPW and stuff, the man takes a beating well.
Well, that's part of the business. That's part of life, isn't it? But it's not about the beating. It's about getting up. I think Cool Hand Luke said it best. You're going to have to kill me.
See, now, I didn't even know. So he worked in XPW, too, then?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been working all over the place, all over the world.
Was it under that same name, or was he under a different name?
It was Altar Boy Luke.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
yeah, I'm sure you've seen him.
Oh, the Altar Boy's gone bad. Oh, I got some jokes now.
Now I know.
Altar
Okay. Because he used to have like a shaved head before, didn't he, or something?
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm a big fan. That's all I'm saying, and I can't wait until February 8th.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time, man. It's I'm really ready to pull my weight over there and help create a buzz about a product that like we're talking about. What we crave, I crave it just like you crave to watch it and see those matches. And what better than you get a front row ticket and the guy's knocking the slobber right out of your mouth. You know what I mean? So I'm right there with you guys, man. It's gonna be a damn good time, and I'm looking forward to it. And then plus, there's a lot of the different workers that work that area: Pennsylvania, Maryland, Jersey, New York, all the way down to Philly. So it's cool always to see those guys. For some reason, I get along with those guys, a lot better.
Well, that's always a good thing, too.
Yeah, good peoples, though. Good peoples at the end of the day.
Do you think, you've worked all around the country, so do you think probably the best talent crop is in the Northeast area?
Yeah, it's all different. You got to have these different styles, but I think they know their stuff more than anywhere in the country right now. I really do. I mean, you can argue that, but I mean, I don't know. Louisville's got some deep roots there too, but they're popping for a whole different style. But don't kid yourself. You bring this same style into that territory or that state, it's going to get over. I mean, prime example was Sabu. He did that same style in Japan everywhere he went. It got over. Never changed it up.
Yeah. And
he was known as one of these innovators who was using the ring, using his body in ways, doing movesets, doing things that we've never seen before. So, I think that's a big deal.
No, I'm not going to disagree with him, Day, and you know that I love Philly and the New York area and all that, hometown and everything, but I've seen out here, like, some amazing athletes that go completely unnoticed when it comes to, like, lucha in sort of Arizona, New Mexico, Las Vegas area as well.
No, yes. Yeah, you got your lucha there. You got some good Southern style wrestling down in the Floridas and the South. I mean, brother, you get it all over the place. It's everywhere. There's good everywhere. And, sometimes people get frustrated trying to find the rhyme or reason with, why they're bringing, it's a no-no, bringing football players in unless you're going to groom them for at least a couple of years, at least 3 or 4 years before you bring them up. I mean, no one wants to get body slammed or get in the ring with these guys anyways, type thing. But, you got a lot of guys slipping through everywhere, and, it's just, I think this is what it is.
So, what are the plans you got coming up for 2014 now? You got Extreme Rising and...
Yeah, I'm going to go to Pennsylvania. I'm going to head back to Philly, and then we're going to renegotiate it again at that point, and just kind of keep moving forward and see if I can get myself earn myself a title shot here and get in the picture here. And man, they got, I'd have to tell you, I was watching the show in the back, and just all the guys, man, just wrestling so hard and for so long, so many matches, and the fans really appreciate. I mean, it's such a good show. It's refreshing. So I'm just gonna head back to Philly, and then I'm gonna figure everything out. What's gonna go on from there, and just a couple steps at a time. Come on, man. You're lucky to make it out of that place alive. One step at a time.
Now, how about this? Like, here's something I would experience. Like, go work an ECW show, and you have that level of talent. The dressing room, it's truly that family-oriented dressing room, and not only that, it's truly like going to school. It's like a learning situation. It's a fun situation. It's a very social situation, and then you would go work an indie show for somebody else, and it's just like a total cluster, and you're just like,
sure.
What the hell am I doing here?
And everyone's looking at everyone's looking at everyone like that too, right?
Yeah.
And what's he doing here? What am I doing? That's how it's all looking back and forth all around. It's just like, what is this? Yeah, that's what we're talking about though. When any Tom, Dick, or Harry can get their promotion and get up and running, and then he can make himself the champion.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he goes and marks out on the internet. No, but I mean, don't you see a lot of that, and it's frustrating too. I mean, too, that was always an outlet for that too. If it was brutal like that, you could always go to the dojo. You go sparring. You go compete. And then get to a place where, but it's dying by the wayside, and those places with that nostalgia electricity are few and far between.
This is true. Wow. All right, so February 8th, everybody out there in Pittsburgh, Extreme Rising. Check out Rich the Beast Ortiz take on Luke Hawks, the ex-altar boy. So I guess you'll be taking him to church.
Praise God.
There you go. All right. So where can everybody find you? Get hold of you? Bookings or anything else?
Yeah, just hit me up. The easiest is on Twitter at Beast Ortiz. That's really easy to remember. But my real name is Rich Young, and you can hit me up there too.
Cool.
On Facebook, Rich Young at Facebook.
Nice. All right, Rich. Well, thanks a lot. It's been a lot of fun. Have fun February 8th, and keep that ECW spirit alive, my friend.
You got it. Hey, and if you could shoot a copy of this over to my Twitter or my Facebook with the link, that way I can shoot it around the horn. You
got it.
Thanks, fellas. Hey, good times. I appreciate talking with you guys, and you always make the journey a little bit better, man. I appreciate it. Now go fuck yourselves.
Take it easy, Rich. Oh, that was good. It's good talking to somebody who truly, appreciates the business and respects the business, and you can tell the dude is like, he's humbled because he's still learning and getting that chance to learn from, a lot of the big names in the business.
Yeah, it's funny because he actually did a show out here, and he worked a couple guys that I'm real familiar with, guys that I was booking like 2 or 3 years ago that are just now starting to get a little bit of recognition. And there was so much conversation we could have had, we would have needed like 2 more hours, man.
And that's always the case too. Like I sit there and I'm watching the clock, and I'm like, all right, I have questions, and I got to start wrapping up. I was doing the same thing with Tony Luke and Big Daddy. It's just like, and even Danko Jones. I had a bunch more questions, and he's like, I got to roll in 5 minutes to head to the studio. I'm like, oh crap, all right.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's interesting, man. And wrestling has changed so much since that time that it's almost like it's a whole different sport now.
Oh, it totally is. Totally is. So, all right. So thanks to Extreme Rising for that. Thanks to Rich for that. February 8th. Check out Extreme Rising's website, extremerising.com. You can follow them on Twitter as well, at Extreme Rising, and if you're not in the Pittsburgh area, you can watch it online with their the pay-per-view of the show. So go check that out. I think it's through High Spots. I forget. So
yeah, I watched it through High Spots. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't want to say it was through High Spots and it High Spots. That would have sucked. Yeah. So all right. So let's take our last commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up.